When it comes to conference realignment in college football, what is one of the words that always gets brought up? Brand and brand value. Which teams bring the most brand value to certain leagues? Well, in this episode, I'm going to rank the Big 12, the new Big 12 brands in order, and I'll tell you which ones belong where. And we'll do that right after this word from my brand new channel sponsor. Since 1931, the attorneys at Katz, Cantor, Stone Street, and Buckner have been the voice for victims who have suffered serious injury or death. They have a fierce passion for truth and justice and a sincere compassion for those who have been wronged by others. Whether you have been in a car accident or fighting with an insurance company, or you or a loved one has suffered serious injury or death due to medical negligence, we will ensure your voice is heard loud and clear. Katz, Cantor, Stone Street, and Buckner will ensure there is justice for all West Virginians because we are your lawyer, your voice. Visit us at yourlawyeryourvoice.com. Welcome in to another episode of Couz's Corner. Come on in, make yourself comfortable, belly yourself up to the bar, and let me pour you out this shot of top shelf college football content. On tap in today's episode, brand value among the new Big 12 teams. Not a lot to talk about today. Big 12 Media Days is coming up the next couple of days, so hopefully there'll be some topics we can talk about with that coming up. It'll be, the first Big 12 Media Days for the new incoming four corner schools. So hopefully the next few days there'll be some things to talk about. I do have my West Virginia season preview coming up later this week with a very special guest. But today I wanted to get some content out to you guys while I had a few minutes. And I thought, you know what? There's been a lot of talk lately about brands. What teams bring the most brand value? Well, recently, one of everybody's favorite West Virginia accounts on Twitter, Mr. C.W. Lambert, also known as the Dude of West Virginia, put out this list. He claims he got this from inside sources related to Fox, ESPN, and TV value when it comes to TV deals. Now, I'll let you decide whether or not you believe that. That's up to you. But here's the list he put out. He obviously has Ohio State, Michigan, Alabama, Notre Dame, LSU as the top five. But he has West Virginia as number 21 in the country in brand value. Now, I'm not sure I buy that. I'm a West Virginia fan, and I'm not sure we're that high. I'll be honest with you. Maybe I'm underselling my own team, but I really haven't had time to dig in to see where West Virginia would stack up. But I would not put them 21st nationally. But again, it's not my list. But when you look at West Virginia compared to other teams in the new Big 12, they would be number one and by a pretty large margin on this list. Oklahoma State would be the next team on the list, and they're 32 nationally, followed by Texas Tech, Arizona State, TCU, Utah, BYU, Iowa State, Baylor, Kansas State, Arizona, Colorado, and Kansas coming in dead last night. He did not have he did not have Cincinnati, did not have Houston, did not have UCF, and did on this list because they were obviously previous members of a G5 conference. And I think this list went back a few years. But nonetheless, he has West Virginia number 21 nationally and first in the new Big 12. So it got me thinking, where would I rank the teams in the new Big 12? So I decided, you know what? I'm going to do my very first tier rankings video here on Couz's Corner. I've had people ask me to do these in the past. I'm probably going to do one at some point, putting the teams in a tier ranking as far as where I think they'll finish. But that's for a later video. Today, we're looking at brand value. Brand value. Now, where do the Big 12 teams stack up when it comes to brand value? And I'm going to bring up my tier list. All right, so we're just going to go in order. It goes alphabetical order here, which is pretty good because it means you West Virginia fans, you have to stick around to the end to see where I put the Mountaineers. Didn't plan it that way, but it's just easier. Arizona State, where would I put them on the Big 12 tier list? Well, as far as brand value, I don't want to put them. They're not an S. S is the top of the line. I don't think they're S because I don't think their history in football is good enough. Their basketball history is decent. They do come from the Phoenix market, a big market. That's valuable. I think I'll put Arizona State at a C. I don't think they're quite a D, which would be the bottom, because I think that's reserved probably for some of the schools who were previously G5 members, which I'll get to later. So right now I'm putting Arizona State at a C, but I do reserve the right to change my mind later in the show. All right, where's Arizona? I'm going to put Arizona at a B. I think they're a slightly better brand than Arizona State. I I think there's a little better history there, especially when it comes to basketball. I think their basketball alone makes them stand out as at least a B-tier team here in the new Big 12. Baylor. Where does Baylor go? Well, I'm putting Baylor also at a B. I'm a tough grader. Baylor has been really good in college basketball lately, but I think when you look at their football, there's been a lot of ups and downs. Baylor has won the Big 12 in the last, 3 to 4 years in football. They've been to a New Year's Six bowl game recently. I think that counts for something. But I'm still not sure I put them as an A brand because, one, they're a private school. They're kind of a small private school. And their history is not that great in football. But now recent history has been pretty decent. Like I said, a lot of ups and downs. But I think historically, when you look historically versus now, they're a B-tier team. BYU. I'm putting BYU as an A. BYU to me is one of the top brands in the new Big 12. They have a national, if not international, following because of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. They have very passionate fans who follow them religiously, no pun intended, and they just have a really large fan base. As a matter of fact, you know what? Heck with it. I'm putting them in the S tier. BYU deserves to be in the S tier. They are that good of a brand. They're that good of a following with their fan base. The only thing that really has held them back in the past to me is because of them being a private institution and being such a religious institution. I think it's held them back. There have been a lot of conferences who have shunned them in the past because of it and things like that. But I think they're a good brand. I think they go in the S tier. The next one, now you can't see them on the screen now, but I'm putting, because their logo is black, but it's the Cincinnati Bearcats. Now I'm putting Cincinnati. Now their fans are going to be mad at me, but I'm putting them as a D tier team. And the only reason I'm putting them there is because they just moved up from a G5 conference. And I don't think they are quite yet at a P5 level brand tier. Now, yes, they made it to the college football playoff a few years back, but that was one season, and they did earn it. And I think with Luke Fickell leaving as coach, I think that took them down a level, and I think they still need to prove they can be good at the Power 5 level, or the Power 4 level, I should say now. Once they do that, I can move them up, but right now I'm putting them at a D. Colorado Buffaloes. Now, if you want to look at Colorado and it's hard not to take the Deion effect into consideration here because of the Deion Sanders effect. I'm putting Colorado as an A. I'm not quite going to put them as an S yet because they need to have some more success on the football field. Now, if you go all the way back to the 1990s, they had some success. They even won a national championship in 1990. But since then, they've not done much, especially since they went to the Pac-12. Since moving over back to the Big 12, can they get back to their glory days? They've been extremely popular. Obviously, now that Deion is the coach there, now that he has his son Shedeur Sanders is there, his son Shiloh Sanders, obviously with Travis Hunter, who's arguably the best college football player in the country. That's bringing a lot of attention to the team and to the program. And for that, I'm at least bumping them up to an A. Before they can get to an S, they need to be successful on the football field consistently, in my opinion. Next is the Houston Cougars. Where do I put Houston? I'm putting them at a D. Now, they're really good in basketball. But so far, to me, they need to prove more on the football field at the Power 4 level. Over time, they may do that. They're in a very hot recruiting bed in the city of Houston, one of the largest markets in America, one of the largest cities in America. Now, you could say, well, Couz, that alone should move them up the list. But so far, them being in the city of Houston has not caused them to be that valuable to me. Number one, because their fans, let's just face it, their fans just aren't that passionate. It's a pro sports town. Just similar to Cincinnati, it's a pro sports city. Their fans are more passionate about their pro teams. So for that reason, I'm putting Houston as a D-tier team. Iowa State. Where to put Iowa State? I'm putting Iowa State, and the Cyclones fans are not going to like this, but I'm putting them as a C-tier. The reason being, yes, they've had some recent success under Matt Campbell, but they've yet to win 10 games in a season. They haven't won a conference championship since 1912. And historically, they've been a very bad program. Now, since Matt Campbell's came on the scene, they have played in the Big 12 title game. They've had several winning seasons, some 7, 8, and 9 win seasons. They've been right on the cusp of being Big 12 champions, but they've yet to get there. When you look at historically how bad they've been, now, if you look at historically, I would obviously put them in a D. But because of their recent success, I'm putting them up to a C. And their brand still, to me, their brand just still doesn't carry a lot of weight nationally. You don't see a lot of Iowa State fans when you travel around the country. I just don't think they're a big enough brand to put them any higher than that at this time. Their basketball brand is okay, not elite, so I'm putting them at a C. Kansas, where do I put the Kansas Jayhawks? Well, because of their basketball brand alone, I have to put them at an S. That's how good their basketball program is. And you add in the fact they're much better in football now. You add in the fact that everybody knows who the Kansas Jayhawks are. They're a flagship team in their own state. They bring a decent market, but they are one of the top 2 or 3 basketball brands in America. And because of that and the improvements they've made in football and the commitment they're making to being better in football, I'm putting Kansas as an S tier. I think they're one of the top brands in the conference by far. And if you want to throw in academics, they're an AAU school, the only one in, well, they were the only one in the original Big 12. They are now one of only a handful in the new Big 12. Next, their in-state counterparts, Kansas State Wildcats. Where do I put Kansas State? I'm putting Kansas State as an A. Kansas State's football program is really very successful. Chris Kleiman is doing a great job. Before him, Bill Snyder was doing a great job. But I think when you look at overall brand value, I still don't think Kansas State carries the cachet of a BYU or a Kansas on a national level. They don't have one of the largest fan bases in the conference. They have a very passionate fan base, but they're just not that big. But they are very successful on the football field. They've started having some recent success in basketball. The program is definitely moving in the right direction. They're one of the top programs in the country who do more with less. So you've got to give them credit for that. And for that reason, I'm putting them as an A-tier team. The Oklahoma State Cowboys, where do I put them? They're an S. I think right now, all things being considered, you would have to put them, in my opinion. Now, again, this is my opinion. You have to put them as probably the top brand in the conference. And that's all because of what Mike Gundy has done with that football program. He has got them playing a consistent level of winning football year after year after year, and he's done it ever since he's been there. They've only had one losing season in his tenure. That was his first season. They've had a lot of 10-win seasons. They're one of the winningest programs in the country. The only thing that's eluded them is a Big 12 title. I think they've only won one since Gundy's been there. But now that Oklahoma has left, Oklahoma State has the best opportunity, in my opinion, of any team in the league to take the mantle and run with it and become the top team in the league. But, anytime you hear about potential teams leaving for the SEC, whose name comes up, it's Oklahoma State. I think you have to put them as an S-tier team. The next one on the list, the TCU Horned Frogs. This is a tough one. TCU hails in one of the largest cities in America, in Dallas, Texas, the Dallas-Fort Worth market. But their fan base, to be honest, is just not that passionate. They're in a pro sports city. They prefer to root for the Dallas Cowboys. And TCU's not even the most popular team in their own city. So I'm putting TCU as a B-tier team as far as brand value. Again, yes, you could say they're more valuable because of Dallas-Fort Worth, and they have had recent success on the football field. Their basketball brand is improving, but it's still not at a high level yet. It's a very small private school. I think they're still, they've only been a power conference school for a little over a decade now. So I'm putting them as a B-tier team. Texas Tech Red Raiders. Again, I think they're a B-tier team. If they were more successful in football over the last couple of decades, I think you could put them at an A. They have an extremely passionate fan base. They have a lot of fans. We know how wild they can get. On game day, throwing tortillas at people. One of the greatest traditions in the Big 12. But right now, until they start having more consistent success on the football field, I just don't see how you can put them any higher than a B-tier program as far as brand value goes. But they are in the state of Texas, which gives them a little bit of a bump above teams like Iowa State and Arizona State because of the recruiting hotbed they're in and, all that high school talent that's there in the state of Texas. And I do think Joey McGuire has them heading in the right direction. They just haven't got there yet. Next to UCF Knights. Where do I put UCF Knights? I'm going to put UCF as a C-tier team. I'm putting them slightly ahead of Houston and Cincinnati, the other two schools who came over from the group of five, simply because they're in Orlando. It's a beautiful city. A lot of people want to go there. It's in Florida, a recruiting hotbed for high school football. Yes, it's a pro sports city. I get it. But when you take UCF fans compare them to Houston and Cincinnati fans and their passion level, I think the UCF fans win out by a pretty large margin. UCF fans love their Knights. They also have one of the largest alumni, or I'm sorry, largest enrollments in the country, one of the largest student bodies in the country. I think they're second behind their fellow C-tier team in Arizona State. So I'm putting them as a C and not a D for that reason. And the only reason I don't have them higher, again, they're just now coming in as a Power 5 team. Once they have more time as a Power 5 or Power 4, I should say, they have a chance to move up that list pretty quickly, in my opinion. But they're just not there yet. They need to have some success before they get there. Now, Utah, and when I say success, I mean success at the Power 4 level. Utah Utes, no doubt they are an S-tier team. As many arguments as I've had with their fan base online, I have to admit, Utah is one of the top brands in the Big 12 day one. They've had great success in football over the last, 2 decades, from Urban Meyer now to Kyle Whittingham. Yes, they've only been a power conference school for just a little over a decade, but they've done nothing but win pretty much since they got there. They have two Rose Bowls in the last 2 Rose Bowl appearances in the last 3 years. A couple conference championships in the Pac-12. They're coming in ready to compete in the Big 12 day one. Arguably, I don't even know if it's arguable, probably the hardest stadium to play in the whole new Big 12 now, or at least one of them. So to me, what Kyle Whittingham has done with that program has them as an S-tier team. Now, I know I've talked about basketball with some of these programs. Utah's basketball program, nothing to brag about, but it's not bad enough to move them down a rung and put them at an A or a B, in my opinion. I think their brand is that valuable. And they're also a very good academic institution. I want to leave that out as well. And I think that makes them very valuable. Anytime the conference realignment conversations come up, I think Utah will be mentioned for conferences like the Big Ten, for example, if the Big Ten ever decides to go west again. Now, last but not least, my favorite team, the West Virginia Mountaineers. Maybe I'm being biased, but I think West Virginia is an S-tier brand. They're the winningest team in the new Big 12, 15th all time. They have they're 3-0 in BCS games back during the BCS era. They have a really good history. They've competed for national championships in the past, not recently, but in the past. We all remember the 2017 with Pat White, Steve Slayton, and that group, how good they were. They were on the national stage. Anytime I travel outside of the state of West Virginia, whether it be to Las Vegas, whether it be to Nashville, Tennessee, whether it be to the state of Florida, the Carolinas, you almost always see somebody flying or sporting the flying WV, whether it's a flag, whether it's, a T-shirt, whatever. West Virginia is a national brand. They're a strong brand. They have a winning tradition, despite their low academic rankings and all that. They're a very, very good brand. Their fans are very active on social media. Always one of the top 25 in the country when it comes to apparel sales. So for that, I think West Virginia deserves to be an S tier. So, in closing, to summarize, S tier teams in the Big 12 as far as brand value, I have BYU, Kansas, Oklahoma State, Utah, and West Virginia. My A tier teams, which is tier 2, Colorado and Kansas State. B tier, Arizona, Baylor, TCU, and Texas Tech. C tier, I have Arizona State, Iowa State, and UCF. And then in the D tier, which is the bottom tier, I have the Cincinnati Bearcats and the Houston Cougars. Let me know what you think. Where did I go wrong? Where did I go right on my tier list? I want to know your opinion. Let me know in the comments section. Also, don't forget to hit the like button if you like this video. Even if you disagree with me, but you thought it was entertaining, hit the thumbs up button. It really helps that YouTube algorithm. Don't forget to share it with your family and friends. I've now made it to 7,600 subscribers. Thank you for getting me to that mark. My next one is 8,000, obviously, and then after that, the next big one is 10K. I'm on my way to 10K. I would love to get there by the end of the calendar year. Maybe college football season can help me get there, but I need your help. So please subscribe if you haven't yet, and let your friends and family know about this channel. Got a lot of things brewing. I'm going to have some new contributors coming onto the channel, a brand new show that's going to be coming onto the channel with myself and another contributor. So be on the lookout for that. The matter of fact, the kickoff show will likely be coming later this week. So keep your head on a swivel for that. In the meantime, check out this video in the corner of the screen right here if you want to hear more about Big 12 football. I appreciate you tuning into this episode. Have a top shelf day and cue Country Roads.